Hello, my name's Andrew, and today we're talking about the best barefoot shoes for wearing without socks. So starting off, this is the Vivobarefoot Sensus. This is my all-time favorite barefoot shoe for wearing without socks because it's super lightweight. It's got a really comfortable leather upper, nice wide toe box, not as much volume up top like most Vivos, but the leather is fairly thin and very soft and stretchy, so it conforms to the shape of your foot over time. It's also got some perforation up front, which is perfect for barefooting. And on the inside, it's just so smooth. It feels like wearing a baseball glove, you know, there's just nothing that rubs in terms of hard stitching. It's got a stitch sole for durability though. And then in terms of the sole itself, it's 3mm, absurdly flexible. It feels like wearing almost nothing at all. So it's a great road running option, great casual walking option, feels really smooth rolling down on pavement. Although because of the thinner sole, I'd stay away from gravel most of the time because it could wear it down faster. My second favorite is the Vivobarefoot Ababa, also very lightweight, has a leather upper all the way around as well. It's a bit more suede, but also thin and very stretchy, so it kind of accommodates for not having quite as much volume in terms of the shape, but definitely wide toe box. And it's got this slip-on collar in the back and it's a little bit of elastic there, so it's easy to open up. They've got this kind of tab, rubber tab that wraps around the back, so it gives a little structure to the heel and makes it very easy to slip on. You can't quite get in there without putting a finger on there, but otherwise it's very fast. And then the sole is 4mm, so very similar to the Sensus, just slightly thicker, but still a ton of flexibility, and kind of the same thing where it works really well for roads, but you can also use it inside because it's almost like a leather slipper just in terms of the flexibility and doesn't feel clunky at all for, you know, wearing all season. I wear it in the summer. I also wear it for the winter. You can kind of stack up like socks just to make it a little bit warmer, but yeah, super versatile option. Another good pick for indoor outdoor use is the Magical Shoes Cameron. It's a little bit more classy, but it's kind of like the Ababa in terms of being able to slip on the back, you know, if you lace it a bit looser. Has more of a medium wide toe box though. It's not quite as wide as Vivo, although same kind of soft, super supple leather. And then inside, very similar to the Ababa, it's got like a soft suede, feels amazing to wear barefoot. And then for the sole, it's 6.5mm, so it's still really flexible actually, but it just provides a bit more durability, like if you're gonna wear them inside, but then also go on, you know, some light gravel and stuff like that where you just want a little bit more protection. This is a good option, but it doesn't feel quite as natural as the Ababa. For super hot days, this is my favorite pick. This is the Wildling Tanuki. It's actually made out of paper, which is crazy. Has kind of a medium wide toe box, good amount of volume though, and the thing that I really love about it is that it's basically almost see-through. When you put these on and you get any kind of wind, it just comes straight through the shoe. It is slightly more scratchy than leather, but the material is so thin and flexible that you don't really even feel it. And for the sole is 3.5mm, so again, very flexible, kind of like the Ababa, even a little bit thinner, really great ground feel. And they've got this split tabby design, which adds even more flex. Another one I wear without socks a ton is the Vivobarefoot Gobi sneaker. It's kind of like a classic soccer Adidas, you know, sort of vibe. Has a wide toe box. This is one of Vivo's widest. The Gobi series in general just has a ton of room. Leather upper, suede edging, which looks really nice, but it's soft, you know, flexible. There's a little bit of perforation here, kind of like the Sensus. And then inside is all leather, very smooth, no stitching, it's rubbing anywhere. But it's got just a little bit more structure than some of the other ones, and the sole wraps up really high, so if it's like a hot but wet day, it'll keep you dry if you're going in medium puddles. Then the sole is 3.7mm, so very thin. It does have just a little bit more structure because of how high it wraps up around the side, but the ground feels excellent. It's a good option for pavement and even some light gravel. Another good barefoot sneaker option is the Magical Shoes Echo. Has more of a medium wide toe box like the Cameron, but again, really nice soft suede leather that doesn't press anywhere on the shoe. One thing I love about this one though is that it has a zip, which is really convenient for taking it on and off. And the inside of these is super smooth for wearing barefoot, although it does have a 6.5mm tread, so kind of like the Cameron, it's a little bit more protective if you need to go on gravel and things like that, but it doesn't have quite as much ground feel as some of the others. Also, if you like the Echo, Magical has a bunch of other interesting designs with like the same sole, and a lot of their shoes are kind of like vintage inspired, which is sweet. For a mid-cut option, this is the Vivobarefoot Gobi. This is one of their oldest styles, has more of a medium wide toe box. Some of their more professional looking, you know, kind of business casual shoes don't have as much room, so that's something to bear in mind. And they also have a little bit more structure, especially in the beginning. Like when you first get a shoe like this, you kind of have to work it in a bit, to make the leather softer. And if you're someone that has higher volume feet or, higher toes, this is probably not the best option. However, it does feel really comfortable to wear barefoot with the suede there, especially, like I said, once you work it in. And the sole is very thin. It's 4 millimeters, but it feels even a little bit lighter than some of Vivo's other styles. Excellent ground feel, really good option for city use if you're tired of wearing like really clunky business shoes. You just want something that you feel like you can actually just take off and run in. Another good mid-cut pick is the Magical Shoes Soho. It's kind of like a Chukka boot. It is softer than the Vivo Gobi, which I like. It doesn't require any break-in period. It does have more of a medium wide toe box like the Gobi, but the upper, definitely really soft. It's very crushable. Has a side zip, which is nice. I honestly love having zips on my shoes. And like Magical's other styles, fully leather inside. It's undyed, nothing toxic, very smooth. And again, that 6.5 millimeter tread that's really good if you're going on any kind of rougher terrain, although, it can feel like overkill on indoor terrain or, flatter roads. Finally, for a vegan barefoot option, this is the Mukishoes Duna. It's made with a cotton hemp upper. It's got kind of a wide shape, but then there's just a ton of room up here. So if you're someone with a high volume foot, this works really well. And also because of how thin and flexible the rubber is, it really spreads out to extra wide. Plus the material is just so thin that the breathability is really good. I mean, usually cotton and hemp aren't quite as good as leather, but when you have something that's as almost paper thin as this, but still durable because of the hemp, it definitely helps move temperature in and out of the shoe. And the whole thing is quite soft, so it feels great to wear barefoot. There's no stitching anywhere that feels weird. And it's got a super light, super flexible 3.5 millimeter sole. This is one of my favorites. It feels almost even more flexible than the Sensus, even though it's a 0.5 millimeter thicker. Plus Mukishoes has a non-slip sole that's really great even on wet terrain. Although as with any super thin sole, you want to stay away from really gnarly gravel. For trails, this is my all-time favorite to wear barefoot. The Vibram V-Trek has separate toes and it becomes extra wide because they splay out. The upper is very stretchy. It's a wool blend. So unfortunately it's not completely natural. There is some synthetic in there, but it's 50% wool. It feels very nice inside, unlike some Vibrams which can have like weird stitching issues. And the sole is 4 millimeters, so it provides a really great balance of protection and agility for doing anything from hiking and backpacking to trail running. There's even just a little bit of padding in there, which is nice if you're not wearing a sock, because the sock does add a bit of softness. Although especially for trail running, if you're not wearing socks, it can lead to blisters no matter how smooth the material is, no matter how little stitching there is in there. So if you're really set on going completely barefoot for longer mileage, I definitely recommend bringing, maybe some band-aids or some tape to wrap around any spots that develop blisters. For barefoot trail running specifically, this is the Vibram V Alpha. It's kind of similar to the V-Trek, except it's like feather light. They've just shaved off every bit of non-essential part of the shoe. Also has separate toes, also splays out to extra wide, but the upper is just so thin. It's a really great option for when it's super hot outside, up into the 80s and 90s. Also has a wool blend upper, and because it's so thin, so stretchy, it feels almost even more comfortable than the V-Trek. And then it's got a 3.7 millimeter Vibram Mega Grip tread. This is my favorite for trail running. It's super flexible, super durable, super grippy. And then you add the toes in there and a little bit more aggressive triangle lugs, and this is just a killer for summer trail running. For water use, this is the Vibram Breezandal. This is another one you can wear completely barefoot. Separate toes, extra wide toe box like any Vibram, but it's got this mesh upper here, which is nice because there's a double layer, so it keeps like silt and little stones and stuff from getting in there. But then it's got one spot right here that's a little bit more open where you can kind of shake out any stones that get in, which I find works really well. I mean, some barefoot water shoes have like too many holes, like the Vivobarefoot Ultra Bloom, and it's like constantly getting stones in there. And then some barefoot shoes don't have any, venting at all. So if you get stones in over the top, it's like you can't get them out without having to take the shoe off. So I really love that about this. I don't like the strap system. I feel like they need more loops here so that you can kind of like get it tighter, especially if you're, wearing them barefoot, or you have more slim feet like me. If you're someone with wider, higher volume feet, it's probably not gonna be a problem, but it's not a huge issue overall because I find Vibrams hold your feet really well, even when you're wearing them without socks. But you may want to consider sizing down. I usually do in most Vibrams. Sometimes I'll even go down 2 sizes. And for the sole on this one, it's 4 millimeters. It's kind of like the V Alpha, but just slightly thicker. It has like Vibram Mega Grip type tread in terms of those aggressive triangle lugs. And overall, a great balance of really hardcore protection plus just super flexibility. You know, it's very grippy on wet surfaces, rocks, underwater, and that sort of thing, and dries really quick for summer too. For colder weather, this is the Vibram V-NEOP, and it's also a water shoe, but it's got a neoprene upper, so it's kind of like a wetsuit for your foot. I think this is probably the widest Vibram 5 fingers that they sell, and it doesn't keep the water out, but essentially how neoprene works is that once it gets wet, it kind of saturates and then it becomes more insulating. Plus the sole is super thin. I think this is Vibram's most flexible shoe. It's just really great for going underwater. You can swim with it, you can go on, you know, reefing kind of stuff, sharp rocks. It's got a good amount of protection, but then they've also like laser cut it, so the flexibility on this thing is just bonkers. The heel does have a bit more density though, so that adds even more protection for sharp surfaces. That said, I did find it to run really long. I had to go down 2 sizes, but I am in between sizes, so that's something to consider. Another good cool weather barefoot option for wearing without socks is the Softstar Primal RunAmoc. It's got a extra wide toe box. They also have the Dash RunAmoc, which is like the regular shape one. It's cool because it has a fully leather upper, but then you can choose the colors. You can choose this, this, and this, so they look completely your own. As the name suggests, very soft inside. It's suede, it's medium thick on the leather, so it's got a good mix of durability and breathability. Although it's not quite as thin as something like the Sensus, so in super hot weather, like 80 degrees, I do find my feet getting kind of hot in these. But for the sole, there are multiple options. Like this is the 2mm Vibram road sole. They've also got a 5mm hybrid tread for both roads and trails, and then they've got a 6mm Vibram Mega Grip tread, which is awesome for, you know, backpacking and super gnarly terrain. But Softstar does have an extra leather layer in there, so I find they just feel a little bit thicker and a little less flexible than some other brands. But if you're looking for more protection, then it's definitely a good option. For hiking specifically, this is the Vivobarefoot Magna FG. Has a wide toe box, a fairly soft leather upper, but it's got a good balance of not being like floppy suede, you know, but then also not being kind of a hard leather like the Gobi, where it's got that sheen sort of turtle shell feel. Has a slip-on collar, which is really convenient, and a wool blend collar, so the breathability is pretty good. It does have some synthetic in there, unfortunately, but overall it feels very soft and comfortable to wear barefoot. And the sole is 5.5mm, so it's right in the middle of the road, very versatile for going both on roads where it feels flexible and smooth enough to not fatigue your feet, but then also durable enough to handle pretty much anything. I use these for any kind of terrain, from medium-sized rocks to small gravel to roads, and it's just like the perfect tread. Also, the water resistance of the Magna FG is really good, but it is a mid-cut boot, so if you get up into 80, 90 degrees, especially when you're not wearing socks, you know, wool socks to help wick some of that moisture out of the boot, it can get a bit hotter. Finally, we've got the Lono Wild, and even though this is like a mid-weight barefoot shoe for hiking and trail running, it's very soft, actually, surprisingly, in the front. They've got this bumper here, but it doesn't extend all the way around to make it kind of hard. Like some of Vivo's trail running shoes can feel a bit hard without socks. But yeah, the suede upper, very soft. And then of course you've got the protection here, so it adds a little bit of durability. The lacing system is great here for providing some minimal support, again, without feeling hard. And then the inside of the shoe is very soft as well. You've got suede up here. You do have synthetic on the bottom of the shoe and then wrapping around the collar here. So it's not the perfect barefoot option, but if you want to make it a little bit more natural, you could put like a lightweight hemp or wool insole in there. And then you're looking at maybe like 80% natural material contact with your skin. But like the Magna FG, it's got a great wraparound sole for water resistance. And for the tread, it's 8mm, so a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier, but a really good amount of protection. It's even got a bit of padding there, so this is a great option for either backpacking on rough terrain, or if you're a beginner barefooter and you're looking for something that just feels a little bit soft. But in terms of the tread, it's got some nice soft ground grip here with the more space lugs, and then in the middle, it's got a ton of protection for really rocky terrain. We've got things jabbing up on your heel and on your forefoot. There's also some soft ground grip around the back, but I will say I think that they need to space this out a little bit more in future versions, because if you're going on really steep slippery hills, these can kind of become like ice skates, but for everything else they work really well. All right, so those are my favorite barefoot shoes to wear without socks, but if you'd like to support the channel, you can shop with the referral links down below, browse and filter more products with the shoe finder tool at my website barefootwear.org, or watch my zero drop transition video to learn more about barefooting. Finally, if you have a question about wearing shoes without socks or about barefoot shoes in general, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Peace.